And that, my dear viewer, is the sound of Physoderma node rot. Hello everyone, Nicole Steckline, technical agronomist with the Calvin Asgrow in Northeast Iowa. I've been getting a lot of questions and calls recently about Physoderma brown spot and Physoderma node rot. So I wanted to take some time to dive specifically into this disease. So what is Physoderma and why is it a big deal in Iowa? So I started seeing this disease probably around 2013 just as the Physoderma brown spot. And what I was seeing was this, a disease that looked very similar to eye spot on the leaves, but it was also making the midrib brown. So that's one of the defining factors, one of the ways that you can identify this disease as opposed to eye spot. So the small lesions themselves on the leaf surface looks very, very similar to eye spot. However, eye spot is only going to infect the leaf tissue, and as you can see here, this Physoderma brown spot has also infected the midrib. It also has the ability to infect the leaf sheath, or the part of the leaf that goes around the stalk. So if we look at this leaf right here, you can see how here on the sheath and down further, we've got those brown spots on the sheath where it's going around the stalk. So Physoderma brown spot, we're starting to see quite a bit of it this year, so quite a bit of it last year as well. And that has to do with our temperature and our moisture, all the precipitation that we got in June. So if you guys can remember back to about a month and a half ago, it was really wet and it was really warm. And that is just right for Physoderma brown spot. So Physoderma isn't actually a fungus. It's a fungus-like organism called a water mold, and it requires free water to infect these plants. So it's flagellated, and when we think about this infection here, and obviously the question always becomes, should I spray for this disease? And the answer is, not really. You're not going to do yourself a whole lot of good. This infection, in fact, happened around V6. When all these leaves were rolled up inside the whorl and we had all that free water from all that rain, that flagellated, meaning has a tail, little fungus-like organism was swimming around in there and infecting the tissue. So spraying a fungicide at this time is not going to help protect you against Physoderma brown spot. On the bright side, Physoderma brown spot itself doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot of yield loss like when we think about northern corn leaf blight or gray leaf spot. The same pathogen that brings us Physoderma brown spot also brings us Physoderma node rot. Notice I didn't say Physoderma stalk rot. That's because Physoderma does not rot away the inside of the stalk tissue. Instead, it's rotting away the meristematic tissue in that node. So while Physoderma stalk node rot isn't a good thing, where it has a potential to just break this plant off at the node, it's not going to affect the movement of water and nutrients through this plant to the grain, such as anthracnose or gibberella or diplodia would, as it rots out the inside of this plant. So how do we tell if we've got Physoderma node rot? As you can tell, this plant here has been infected with Physoderma brown spot. You can see the infection on the leaves, as well as on the midrib and the leaf collar, as well as the leaf sheath. So if we pull the leaf off and expose that node, the growing point, we can see that that tissue is still healthy and not affected. So although these plants have been infected by Physoderma, it's only the brown spot version and not the node rot version. So fungicides. Fungicides in general are not effective on the infection of stalk rots or a node rot. When it comes to standability and saying that it works on stalk rots, it's really more about keeping these plants alive for longer, photosynthesizing longer, and staying healthier longer, so that it doesn't feel the need to pull nutrients from the stalk and cannibalize that stalk for the ear, thereby increasing the harvestability of that crop. So Physoderma node rot, keep an eye on it. If you do see infection on the growing point, for the most part, if that infection doesn't make it all the way around the node, you probably won't see that plant snap off unless something is out pushing on it, like a DeKalb agronomist. So keep your stick on the ice. We're all in this together.